I'm going to talk about naming acids. Acids, the acids that you're going to come in contact with this part of the class will always have hydrogen written in the front of the formula. For example, HCl and H2SO4. Okay, so you can kind of easily recognize that this is an acid. Now, when you go to name an acid, the way they're named, they're based off of the anion that they come from. And an anion is the negatively charged nonmetal that is the other half of the acid without the hydrogen. So in this first example, if I'm looking up here at HCl, I got this chloride ion right there. Okay? So chloride ion, and I'll write it here, Cl minus, ends in an IDE. Okay, and it's this ending that determines how the acid is going to be named. If the anion that makes up the acid ends in an IDE, then the acid that comes out of it will be named hydro, the root, which comes from the anion that is used, ic acid. So in this case, chloride was the anion. The acid is HCl, because chlorine is a negative one, hydrogen is a positive one. And the name will be hydro, the root, chlor, from the chloride ion, throw an ic on the end of it, acid. So hydrochloric acid. Now, if the anion happens to end in an ATE ending, for example, this is sulfate, the acid that I would come out with is going to be sulfuric acid. So the name is derived from the root of the anion, which in this case is a polyatomic anion ending in ate, ATE, followed by an ic acid. So the acid that I want to name is H2SO4. It took two hydrogens because sulfate ion is a -2, each hydrogen is a +1, and so it will take two. So when I go to name this, this is just going to be sulfuric acid. The root ic acid. So ATE becomes an ic acid, IDE becomes a hydroic acid. There's one more. And this is if the anion ending happens to be ite. So, for example, sulfite. Sulfite ending, ITE, this particular polyatomic ion looks like that. The acid that I'm going to make out of it will be named the root, followed by OUS acid. So putting these together, the acid would be H2SO3, and the name would be the root, sulfurous acid. So there are three ways to name acids, and I'm not sure I got stuff down at the bottom. We'll get rid of that. All right? So if it's an ic ending, a monatomic, or if it's an ide ending, a monatomic anion, it becomes a hydroic acid. If it's an 8 ending from a polyatomic ion that ends in the ATE ending, it's going to be a ic acid, and if it's an ite polyatomic ion, it's going to be OUS acid.